The reproductive system, external changes. Some of the most significant changes that take place during puberty are those that involve the reproductive system. This is the system that enables the humans to reproduce. It is essential for life. If we could not reproduce, the human race would come to an end. Children do not need a functioning reproductive system. It is much more important that other body systems, such as the digestive, respiratory, and skeletal systems, develop to keep pace with a growing body. During puberty, however, the reproductive system wakes up. This chapter is about the obvious changes that result when the reproductive system begins to mature. While going through puberty, both boys and girls grow taller, worry about being normal, and experience many similar changes in feelings. However, some changes are unique to boys and some are unique to girls. In this reading, you will learn about some of the unique changes that involve the reproductive structure on the outside of the body. These structures are called the genitals or genitalia. Boy to men. Changing anatomy. The two most obvious structures of a boy's genitalia are the penis and the scrotum. During puberty, the penis grows a little longer and thicker. Exactly how long and how thick varies from one male to the next. At some time or another, almost every male worries about the size of his penis. It is important to remember that because puberty starts at different times for different people, some boys' penises will be bigger than other boys, even though the boys are the same age. That's okay. In fact, the size range is normal. Feet, hands, and noses are different sizes. So are penises. By the end of puberty, size difference are not nearly as great. Penis size has nothing to do with manliness, strength, or anything else. It does have to do with the genes a boy inherits. The appearance of the penis varies depending on whether or not the boy has been circumcised. At birth, the end of the penis, often referred to as the glans, is enclosed in a sheath of skin called the foreskin. The surgical removal of the foreskin is called circumcision. Soon after birth, the parents usually decide whether or not they want their son to be circumcised. Their decision may be based on their religious beliefs, on the family's customs, or on their understanding of long-term health effects. Either way is okay. Whether or not there is a foreskin does not affect the functioning of the penis. The penis functions in two body systems. As part of the urinary system, it carries urine from the bladder to the outside of the body, and as part of the reproductive system, it transports sperm. Both urine and semen pass through a small opening at the end of the penis called the urethral opening. Behind the penis is a loose sac of thin skin called the scrotum. It contains the testes or testicles. They are an important part of the reproductive system because they produce sperm. Muscle fibers in the scrotum contract and relax, changing the position of the testes. When the surrounding air is cold, the muscles contract, bringing the testes closer to the body. In hot weather, the muscles relax so the testes hang a little further from the body and will stay cooler. When this happens, the testes may seem larger, but there really is no change in their size. By changing the position of the testes, the muscles help keep the temperature of the testes about 2 degrees Celsius lower than the body temperature. This lower temperature is necessary for the production of sperm. One of the early signs of puberty is often an increase in the size of the testes and therefore of the scrotum too. When this happens, the skin of the scrotum becomes darker and more wrinkled. As the scrotum grows, one side may hang a little lower than the other. This probably makes movement such as walking more comfortable, since the testes won't rub against each other. Like other body parts, the size of the scrotum varies slightly from one person to another. During puberty, pubic hair appears at the base of the penis. At first, it may look like a pale fuzz. Over time, the hairs become coarser and darker and curlier. As these changes take place in every boy as he goes through puberty. The exact timing varies from one boy to another, but eventually all boys become adult males. Girl to woman, changing anatomy. A girl's genitalia are not as obvious as a boy's. Perhaps that's why many girls are not aware of the changes that take place as they go through puberty. A female's genitalia are called the vulva. The vulva is made up of several parts. The most obvious part are the two pairs of fleshy folds of tissue, the inner and outer labia. The outer labia are a pair of fat-filled folds that enclose and protect the other structures. In girls, the inner surface of these folds are smooth, but as puberty progresses, small, slightly raised bumps may appear. These bumps are oil glands that keep the area moist so the skin does not get irritated. Just inside the outer labia are the thinner folds of tissue called the inner labia. In childhood, they may be fairly small. They grow during puberty. They too have oil glands that produce oil. As a girl goes through puberty, the labia becomes fleshier and darker in color. Where the two inner labia meet in front, there is a firm bump of tissue called the clitoris. In grown women, it is about the size of the head of a wooden match. Although the clitoris has no reproductive function, it contains many nerve endings and is sensitive to touch. Directly behind the clitoris is the urethral opening. As in boys, this is the opening through which urine passes on its way out of the body. However, in girls, the urethral opening is not part of the reproductive system. It functions only in the urinary system. The vaginal opening is behind the urethral opening. The vagina itself is not visible since it is inside the body. Even though this opening is larger than the urethral opening, it is not very obvious either. That's because the sides of the vagina are usually touching each other. Sometimes a membranous tissue called the hymen partly covers the vaginal opening. This membrane is often so thin that it is easily broken or torn. In fact, most women are unaware they even have had a hymen. Early in puberty, pubic hair starts to grow in the front of the vulva and on the outside of the outer labia, but not on the inner labia. At first, the pubic hair is fine and sparse. As puberty progresses, it becomes coarser, thicker, and curlier. All these changes take place in every girl as she goes through puberty. The exact timing varies from one girl to another, but eventually all girls become adult females, men and women. The changes that take place during puberty are gradual, taking several years to complete. Nothing happens overnight, in a week, or even in a month. The entire process is pretty amazing if you stop to think about it. During this time, the bodies of children, boys and girls, become the bodies of adults, men and women. It's important to remember, however, that having a mature body does not mean that a person is an adult. This reading has mentioned some of the most obvious changes, but of course, it does not explain everything. If you notice something going on with your own body that you wonder about or are worried about, talk to someone. Your parents, school nurse, doctor, or some other trusted adult can be helpful sources of information. You may even find that when they were young, they had some of the same questions you have now. Analysis questions. Number 1. List at least 2 reasons you think a person should know the names of the structures that make up the genitals and how these structures change during puberty. Number 2, the body of an adult is different from the body of a child, but there are other differences as well. A, list at least 3 ways besides appearance that adults differ from children. B, how old do you think a person should be before you call him or her an adult?